Hello, Michelle.
Hey, Katie.
First of all, welcome back to Rebel Therapy Podcast, episode 19. Awesome. And we're talking about resistance, which probably needs a little bit of defining. Do you agree?
Yes, yes. How do you define resistance in terms of the therapeutic context or what we might be talking about?
So, when I'm working with a client who is exhibiting a strong resistance, I would typically say something like the difference between this type of therapy and others is that when I'm asking you something and it really feels like you're doing this, right? Either you're doing this or some people are more subtle and it's more like they're standing behind a pane of glass. I can't get to them. Some people are just overtly oppositional. All of that is cool, whatever. The whole idea from a Gestalt perspective is that instead of trying to push through that resistance, I'm trying to talk to you and you're blocking me, right? So think about theater sports. Instead of going yes and, you're saying no. And so I've got to like get through the no somehow. So other types of therapy will push through the no, whereas I would argue that our approach to therapy, the Gestalt approach to therapy, works with the no. If I'm asking you something and you're saying no to me, there's a reason. There's a reason that you're choosing not to move with me, that you're refusing to move with me, whatever it is, right? And so
Yeah.
we're more interested in why that resistance is there because we assume there's a purpose for it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the key things about it is that
Yeah.
you actually respect the resistance, right?
Yep.
Like the no has its own like wisdom to it, right? So we're not just going to
Yeah.
say, we don't like, just go along with what I'm saying. It's like,
Push through it for your growth. Push through. Yeah, no, we're not doing that.
no, it's actually really interesting. Why did that come up as such a strong resistance, And like sometimes it can come up where it surprises both of you, where you're like, I didn't know I felt so strongly about this, or I didn't even realize I was pushing back so strongly on this.
Oh. Yeah.
Um,
So the one that comes up often for me is people will come in and sit down and be like, my childhood was amazing. It was great. And I'm like, cool, cool, cool. Right. And so it's invariably in response to tell me a little bit about, your upbringing or your family or whatever. And they're like, my family was great. Okay. Fabulous.
no more questions. That was great,
Right?
period.
Yeah, yeah. And so, I mean, to me, that's a really great example of resistance. It's kind of like, do not fucking ask about my family. All right, I won't ask about your family, but I'm super curious as to why there is such a line in the sand about asking about your family. And so the idea is that we work with that as opposed to trying to frustrate the person to push through it. Yeah.
Yeah, or even just talk them out of it,
Yeah.
you
Oh, I like
know,
that. It's even better. That's better. Yeah.
to be like, oh, you don't need to
Mhm.
feel that way. Why don't you just do this? Or what, while that might be coming from a well intentioned place, even as I was saying that to you, it feels kind of icky in my body, right? Because
Yeah.
there's this inherent meaning that I don't believe what you're resisting is worth it, or that I don't need to listen
Yeah.
to your no because you're wrong about it. I know better than you,
Yes, I hate that. I mean, I think you're
right?
completely right. And also, it's completely disregarding somebody's boundaries. If I, as your client, do this and assert my boundary, there's a reason that I'm doing that. It might not be necessary in this moment with you, but historically over time, I've learned to do this. And there's a reason why I've had to do this. So there's something about honoring the strategies that people have created for themselves, because the purpose is always to keep us safe or
Yeah.
intact or whatever. So if I refuse to talk to you about my family, there's probably a reason, right? Perhaps I'm protecting myself or them, or perhaps there's trauma that is really dangerous for me to go back into, or whatever. There are so many different reasons that someone would feel that they need to do that. I think that the way it's always like, instead of going right at it, it's coming at it from behind, but with support, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I was just going to say there's a distinction between not respecting the person's no and working with it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're never going to ask about their family again, right?
No, no. And
You
what I'll
know?
actually say is, hey, we don't have to talk about your family right now, but what I'm really curious is about why it was such a line in the sand to not talk about your family. What did that feel like? How did you feel about it? What are you feeling right now? Whatever. So we leave that. And I'm actually really clear to say, I hear you. We're not going to go there. Absolutely not. Not until you're ready or whatever. But
Yeah.
what about this situation activated that in you, right? What is the purpose? How are you feeling about it? Whatever, all the things. You get my point.
Yeah. No, because I think it's because we've developed these like adaptive strategies. It's almost like you need to hear them out first.
Absolutely.
It's like you need to give them their day in the light to be like, this is what I'm here for. This is what I'm protecting. This is why I feel so strongly about this. This is how I kept myself safe. One of the things of working with resistance, where once you actually kind of make friends with it and are more well acquainted with it and understanding it from the inside out, that sometimes they might even then be more willing to talk about their family. I don't mean like in that instance, but that there's a way in which the thing needs to be honored before you're going to be able to work with it or move on that particular thing.
It's actually, I would argue, exactly the same way that you work with kids
Hmm.
or teenagers or even younger kids, really. Instead of telling a kid they're wrong, no, 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 you've misunderstood. That's not what's happening. Listen to what they think and how they feel because they've come up with a plan that makes sense for them. And until you actually listen to where they're coming from, you can't help them get beyond it. And I think that what's missing for a lot of kids and specifically teenagers now is having an adult actually honor how they feel, even if how they feel doesn't really match reality, it doesn't matter. It's how they feel. Whether or not how I feel matches reality doesn't change how I feel. So instead of being told that how I feel is wrong, which I think a lot of us were told and a lot of us are still told, right? It's like, cool, that's how you feel. That's really interesting. Where does that come from? How does that feel to you? Why do you think you feel that way? Whatever. And then trying to integrate or connect feeling to reality and figure out gently kind of how that goes together as opposed to pushing through.
Yeah, as opposed to disregarding your feeling in order to value the reality above your felt experience. And I
As
like
many adults do to children. No, no, you're wrong. That's not what's happening. This is what's happening. And then as a kid, you're like, well, I guess I'm wrong. Okay.
absolutely. And
Yeah,
we do that to ourselves
yeah, we
still,
do.
right? Like so much
Well,
of
that's the next step, right? If it happens to you so many times as a child, then you internalize whatever you're taught. And if that's what we're taught, that's what we do. Yeah.
just so many clients I work with don't want to feel how they're feeling, or they're fighting with themselves about whether they can accept that that's how they feel, but that is how you feel, But there is this internal thing. There is a belief that you can talk yourself out of how you feel. And where did you learn that dynamic? It clearly was external at some point, and then
Well,
you internalized it.
we're told this. We're told like mindset, just change your mind. Okay, whatever, right? Like that's not a thing. That's not how it works. I'm sure that'll annoy some people, but you can't just think your way out of feeling. You can suppress or deny, but you can't actually use your brain to change how you feel.
You
So,
can't yeah, you can't talk yourself out of feeling. And there is research about that where it's like we're
yes,
working with two different circuitry inside, right? Where
it's not just my opinion.
no, it's not just your opinion, right?
There's actual science. Yeah.
We're
Yeah, and then
working
I
with
think
different
also,
parts of our brain, right?
yeah.
And you can't talk to your amygdala and be like, don't be scared. It doesn't care what you
Okay.
think. It's just like,
No,
I
exactly.
am.
Yeah, it's like talking to a 7-year-old scared of vampires. You can't just tell them that vampires don't exist and now it's fine. Whatever. Both things can be true at the same time. And then I think the other thing that gets missed sometimes is that if someone is resistant or oppositional or whatever, sometimes it's just pacing. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's just I'm moving too fast and you need a minute. Right. Or if I put myself in the client position, it's like, I need a minute. This is too fast because it feels ungrounded or unsupported or it's scary or whatever, because now I'm going to look at stuff that I've spent the last 30 years actively not looking at. So, like just give me a sec to kind of ground myself. As a new therapist, I think some of the fear is, oh no, what if someone is like resistant with you? And I love it when people are resistant. I'm like, ooh, that's amazing. Here's the richness, right? And it's such a great indicator for me that something else is needed. So it's like amazing. Thank you for telling me we can go in a different direction or we can do it differently or we can slow it down or whatever. There's so many different ways to go, but it feels like we're really connecting when that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it is great. And I liked what you said in terms of making sure you have enough support and before you're going to be able to do things differently. Because I think that's where part of that fear comes from, where you're like, this is what I've built my foundation on. And if you're just taking that away, what do I
Yeah.
have
You're like the rug
left?
pull, right?
Right?
Yeah.
As opposed to a slower shifting that's actually supported along the way. And where you can bring in that awareness. Is this how you want to choose to cope with things? And if you don't know there's a different way, you can't make that choice.
And so as a therapist, it's like, okay, well, this is the way it's worked, and that's amazing. Well done. Here's the array of other ways. How do you feel about that? And I think often clients need a minute to go, whoa, first of all, I didn't know there were other ways. Now that I know there are other ways, I got to think about it. And I got to choose, right? Like it takes a while, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's part of the reasons that sometimes therapy can take longer than people would maybe want or hope for, right? Because you're actually trying to make slow shifts that are sustainable.
That's right.
You're not just trying to pull things away and be like, well, good luck.
Done. Fixed. No,
You know,
not the way.
if we're shifting these tectonic plates, we need something else supporting it so it doesn't just fall apart.
And I would argue tectonic plates don't move quickly.
Yes, good point, right? That's a
Yeah.
good metaphor for it then. You're not going to be
Yeah.
able to shift those bad boys quickly.
No, the shifts are massive, but they take a minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Resistance. Bring it. We love it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel there's probably even more angles we could explore with this, but I think that that's a good starting point.
Yeah. And so if you've enjoyed this conversation and resistance speaks to you, especially the oppositional perspective that speaks to me, drop us a comment and like and subscribe.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thanks.